I don't know what the beginning of this banter's gonna be. Like, I've run out of fun facts. I've run out of banter for this podcast. What is this podcast anymore? Who am I without
That's
this
very good.
podcast? This podcast is all I do. My brain hurts in podcast. Bestie, say something interesting for the beginning of the episode.
Bagel.
Hello, welcome to a Fish and Flower podcast.
Why are you going in the bathroom?
I'm
You don't go in the bathroom.
No, I'm totally keeping just bagel. That's so funny. All you have to do is
Yeah,
say
that's
one word
really
and I laugh.
No, it made me laugh.
Yeah.
People who hate chewing sounds are dying.
Yeah. Hello, welcome to the Fish and Flower podcast. I'm Flower, aka Rose. And I don't know. Oh, do you ever just as you're going to bed, just remember that you, as an adult, almost 25-year-old woman, have frozen sheets?
I think it's funny.
I literally was fixing my pillow slip last night as I was about to go to bed, and I went, what the fuck? I have frozen sheets. Who the hell am I? I'm nearly 25 years old.
I don't know, that's the equivalent of me being 20, turning 21 eventually,
I know, right?
and still sleeping with a squishmallow.
I mean, I have a squishmallow, too.
No, I mean, directly in my arms every single night. I can't sleep
Same.
without it.
Same. I love him. He's a fish. Clownfish.
My friend, get hit when you die, even though it's your sister. I got a kitty and a puppy. How you feeling?
Horrible. I want babies, but puppies don't love me.
Well, I love you. Does that help?
No, you're not a dog.
I'm a fish, bitch.
Well, I don't like fish. They scare me, so.
I'm scary. I scare you. Good.
That's why I put you in the biogenerator in Subnautica. I love how this is the banter. Why is this the banter? Do your part of the
I'm
intro.
eating a bagel. I'm putting dishes in the dishwasher.
Do your part of the intro. I swear to God.
Hold on. My name is Fish, if you didn't catch on, aka Stingray. And what if I changed my name? Just putting that out there.
What are we changing your name to?
I don't know, but this was a hypothetical question.
Okay.
What we would have to rebrand the podcast? Flower and Bitter Bitch.
The petty bitches.
Or I can just confuse everybody and go by 27 different names on every single different platform.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
No, because one of my friends knows me as my actual name. The other one knows me as a name I no longer go by. You know me by Stingray.
You mean the name that whenever someone in my family asks me what your actual name is, I literally have to stop and think for 5 minutes?
My actual name doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm what the fuck do you mean actual name? Stingray? I don't understand. Stingray? H? Those are their names. I'm so confused.
Don't worry, I have more, but I'm going to keep those to myself because I have, for my burner accounts, You're laughing, but I'm serious.
I know. Have you even, is this all your fun facts that you have burner accounts? Can I move on?
I have at least 7 Twitter accounts for wildly different things.
Do you mean X? Anyways, you scare me and I hate you.
I'm so glad you're scared of me because I am in fact insane.
I mean, I knew that.
I don't think you fully comprehend how insane I am. I don't think anyone really does.
I'd like during the recording of the last episode we recorded, which isn't out by the time this one goes up, so don't worry about it. I elbowed my glass of water that sits next to me, and so a giant glass of water just went all over my floor.
Girl.
And I didn't even react. I was just completely silent. There's probably at one point in it where you can hear it fall, but like otherwise. Anyways, this is a stream of conscious podcast recently to how we talk to each other on a daily basis. The fish's fun fact is that they have 7 Twitter accounts. I don't know.
It's not 7. Here, let me look.
You said 7.
I was just guessing. Hold on, let me look.
I'm gonna jump off a cliff.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I definitely have 1 or 2 I can't get into, but I'm logged into 6.
Dude, I can't get into mine. The email account tied to mine, I haven't had access to in like years, and I haven't used for like 5 years on top of that. So.
It's not like you use Twitter, so.
Yeah, no, I made it in middle school, and I used it for about 2 weeks, and then never used it again.
Twitter's not a good place for me, but here we are.
I remember that one of the only things I posted on Twitter was about the Vampire Diaries, because it was around the time when it was the season finale where she dies and becomes a vampire, right? So I remember freaking out when that happened, and that's like the only thing I put on my Twitter account was me freaking out about that. Otherwise, I never used Twitter.
Well, I love Twitter for Swifties and sleepover content. That's literally it. The rest of Twitter, I do not need to be interacting with, at least besides the Twitter I'm on. Do what you will with that information.
Okay. On today's episode, we are talking about the love hypothesis.
Hell yeah. 5
Which means
stars.
I can make so many Star Wars references, because this is technically Star Wars fanfic initially. And we love that for me.
I don't.
I did not take notes, because someone, thebibliophile.com, has just like a general summary, but also a chapter by chapter summary. So I'm just gonna skim that, mixed with my memory, and we're gonna go. Prologue is the book opens with all of the main character. She's at.
Just ignore my question, God.
She's applying at Stanford for the PhD program. But she's wearing expired contacts, and yeah, she can't really see. It happens to be that the bathroom that she's in is the bathroom of that they like dump test tubes down or something. I don't know. And then there's, and I quote, the guy there. She assumes he's a PhD student. Cough, cough. No, it's the love interest who is a professor. They start talking. She says her name's Olive, and he asks why she's applying, because she's all like, is it even worth it, and all this stuff, because academia, difficult time. And
I just got 3.
I'm
sorry.
She tells him she wants to do it in order to research a specific problem, because no one else will, and he says that's the best reason. And then she's accepted into the program, and she takes it, because of the things that he said. What are you sending? Why are you sending me a sleep token?
Because it's 3. Look at him. We match, bestie. But my hair looks like this.
So it's nearly 3 years later, and she's 26, and she's in her mentor's lab, Dr. Aslan. Every time I saw Dr. Aslan's name, I started laughing because Narnia, right?
Oh my god.
So her best friend, and who I have thoughts and opinions of, I think that's how you pronounce her name, right? And her ex-boyfriend, Jeremy. Jeremy she dated for like 2 weeks. They went on like 2 dates. But Anne and Jeremy seem to have more of an interest in each other. But Anne wouldn't date Jeremy, despite the fact that Olive kept on saying, hey, it's fine. I wasn't into him like that. Right? Because, like, quote-unquote girl code. And she wants Anne to be happy. So, in order to make Anne think that she's moving on, she says that she's on a date. But it just so happens that Anne walks into the lab where Olive is late at night, in order to, like, get work done while she's supposed to be on this quote-unquote fake date. Right? That isn't real. And so, she sees Anne there, Anne sees her. So, to cover her tracks, she, goes up to a random stranger, and is all like, hey, can I kiss you? And then kisses him before he can really reply. That stranger is Dr. Adam Carlson, who is like one of the most highly respected professors in her program, also hated by like all the students because of how tough he is and whatnot. He reputation for being notoriously moody, mean, and hypocritical is what this says. So there's like a little bit. There's banter.
I love it.
This book's banter. That's why the fish loves this book. There's banter. I'd like everyone to know this is our second time reading this book. So there's banter about how she kissed him in the middle of this hallway, how he didn't really have a chance to reply when she asked, and she tries to explain what happened, so, she's rambling and whatnot, and then she just, like, feels bad, and she's like, okay, this is, like, I sound crazy, I'm sorry, totally do file a complaint, and leaves.
You tell me.
Yeah, and, when she goes to leave, he calls her by her name to call her back, and she doesn't realize that, yeah, she never told him her name. So, a few days later, she is still embarrassed, and they've never really crossed paths, like, so the chances of them crossing paths again, minimal. And she's preoccupied with needing to find, more lab space for her research. She's doing research on early detection for pancreatic cancer. So, like, basically, her mentor, Professor Lady Aslan, is retiring in, like, the next year, and so because of that, she's not applying for more grants, so there's not enough money in the lab for, Olive to do the research that she needs to do, so she needs to find someone who is interested in her specific field, so that she can, try to go to their labs and do work in their labs for a year, and whatnot. Right? So one of the people that she emailed about doing this is Dr. Tom Benton. Fuck Tom!
Fuck Tom Benton!
Fuck
Just
Tom!
like, fuck
Spoiler!
Grima.
Fuck Tom! He's a well-known cancer researcher. Fuck cancer, but fuck Tom. Am I right? An associate professor at Harvard, and, is interested in her research. So he's going to be in town for grant things, so he wants to meet with her. So, like, she's been avoiding Anne, and her run into each other, and she confronts Olive about kissing Adam. Yeah. So there's, like, this whole thing where Olive is Canadian, right? And Anne's like, hey. Anne's like, hey, if you're, like, dating him because they're taking away your green card, I will marry you. Like, immediately. Which that part I do like of their friendship. So, there's a lot of stuff about how they were the only two non-cis white male, students in their class. And so, like, on their first day, they sat next to each other because of that, and they've just been best friends since then. So, when she's questioning why she's dating Adam, Adam walks in and plays along and pretends that he and Olive are together after they make formal introductions. He's all like, hey, don't call me Dr. Carlson, call me Adam. In case Adam's around, cough, cough. Yeah, actually, he just wants her to say his name, let's be real.
He's so hot.
He really is. Later, she's talking to Anne again, and, she continues the pretending, and encourages Anne to date Jeremy. On campus, she's noticing that people are treating her differently, and with some level of curiosity. What her roommate, who is her other friend, who I consider her best friend, thank you very much, Malcolm, demands to know why she didn't tell him about dating, Adam. Basically, Adam was on his review board.
I thought about something so bad.
Adam was on Malcolm's review board a long time ago and was very rude to him and whatnot, so that's why she didn't want to bring it up to Malcolm. And so, Malcolm's kind of, like, upset that she didn't tell him and all this stuff. And this is how she learns that everyone knows about it. So she goes to his office, to tell him and apologize for it, right? And she realizes, hey, he's not thinking this is a big deal. Like, she expected him to be like, oh, shit, and then, like, come up with a plan to fix it, but he's all like, alright.
Because he's so hot and cool and secure in himself.
Yep.
Also, now I already want to reread it. Help me.
Honestly. He admits that Stanford considers him a quote-unquote flight risk, because he's not married. I think he owns it, or he's renting, maybe, a house, I don't know. But he has, like, no family, in the area, and, like, other places are constantly asking him to go there instead. And
It's
there
so
was
hot. Okay.
and Harvard, he just got accepted for a grant in Harvard with a coworker in Harvard. So yeah. So because of that, Stanford has frozen some of his research funds because of it, which seems questionable in general.
Yeah. A lot of things in this book seem a little bit questionable.
Yeah. So they think that he's going to move to Harvard. And they took, I think it's like a quarter of his money. And like technically he doesn't need it, but like he did have plans for that money for other research, right? And all this stuff. He hopes that the dating rumors will make the review board more like think that he's more likely to stick around since he's dating someone there. So more days pass, and she goes to his office and tells him she wants to proceed with pretending that they're dating. She's noticed that people have treated her nicer, except for Malcolm. Malcolm is not happy about this whole situation, and has been shunning her.
That kind of.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like I'm Olive, you're Malcolm, redacted.
That's funny. So
Is
apparently,
it funny? Am I funny?
yes. Apparently, in the days since that she's been thinking about this, Adam has looked into it, and because they're not in the same departments, technically, and he's like not her advisor or anything, there's no issue. He just can't serve on any of her thesis committees or anything, and can't be a part of any decision making if she's nominated for a fellowship or an award. And she's like, I'm fine with that. Wasn't gonna ask you anyways. So they set up ground rules for their fake dating. We all know here's another thing. It's tropey, but in a way where like it's self-aware about its tropiness because Olive loves to watch rom-coms. So she's like, a lot of the times some fake dating or romance trope will happen, and she will be like, yeah, that's obvious because that happens in the rom-coms. And he's just like, I have no clue what you're talking about.
We love breaking the fourth wall.
Yep. So they're on campus only fake dating, no personal engagements. She says that no sex.
And he's like, oh, okay.
He's just like, I'm sorry, what? And she says that, but she's like, I'm sorry, if you thought that you were gonna get something out of this, I'm sorry for making you believe that. And he's like, no, I'm confused. I'm good. No, we're good. They agree to not date other people, and then, like, she's like, I won't date anyone else. It's not a big deal with me, because, like, I'm too busy anyways. But if you do date someone for reals during this, do make sure that no one else learns, because I don't want to be known as the girl who, like, you cheated, right? Makes sense. He's all like, I don't have anyone who I would date anyways, because, like, clearly I'm fake dating you for people to think that I'm dating someone, right? And then, they agree to get coffee on, I think, every Wednesday?
Yeah.
On campus Starbucks, to make things believable. And the set end date is September 29th, which is, about a month later, which is the day after the department's budget review. Yeah. So Malcolm is still upset. And his family is like a lot of well-known scientists, and he dislikes Adam's criticism of his research, and made his life very difficult. And Olive confides that they're actually fake dating, and she barely knows him. And that he's just helping out with the Anne/Jeremy situation, but doesn't mention why why his reasons of fake dating and whatnot.
Cut this out.
Okay.
Tell me why. I came up with my little tiny baby Carter before I ever read this book. So why is Carter low-key Adam coded?
I love that.
Like, am I wrong? Like,
I keep on loading Goodreads, and it keeps on telling me I'm reading this book called Evelyn Hugo, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I'm wondering if I should, like, pick that book up.
I think you should.
Wait, I'm not gonna pick it up until September of this year.
I have to read it before June.
I know! I keep on pushing back the episode because I keep on not picking it up. It's so funny.
Anyways, but am I wrong about that? Like, do I just have like a type or something?
I'm gonna go with yes.
I'm normal.
Okay, it's coffee date time. They ask the basic questions, right? Like favorite colors or whatnot. His is black. He wears a lot of dark clothing. He's based off of Carlo Ren. So, makes sense. Adam pays for her order, and so she orders like fruit and like a bunch of random things and like some very sugary drink, and he's like black coffee.
I love them.
So she's running late for the next meeting, right? Because Tom Benton is arriving for their meeting that day.
Fuck Tom Benton.
I know, right? And Adam is moody because his department chair has still not agreed to release his funds. She knows this. She makes him laugh. They're cute. There's like this whole thing where she's poking fun at him being moody. He's like, I'm not moody, and she's like, totally. It's very cute.
He's so cute. I love him.
They discuss attending the biosciences picnic together, so that the chair can see them together. Because like he has to go because each year random professors are signed up for social events and whatnot, and that it's his year. And she goes normally because of free food. So they're interrupted when a friend of Adam's walks in and greets him warmly, and he introduces him to Olive as his friend and collaborator. And this friend and collaborator is Tom Benton. You're supposed to say it again, bestie.
Tom Benton.
Thank you. Tom Benton. I'm not calling him doctor. He doesn't deserve that title. Reveals that he's heard about Adam's romantic exploits all the way at Harvard. And surprised that they're true. Olive is awkward and tells that they have a meeting planned for that day, explaining that she's that Olive. And he's like very delighted by this fact, which is cough cough side eye when things happen in the future. They sit down, chat at the coffee place, and he's like, okay, let's do the interview here. And she's like, I'm not prepared. What the fuck? And so she's panicking. And then Adam rephrases all of his questions, like yells at him for like doing that, and rephrases his questions so that it like puts it in Olive's head in a specific way that she can come up with the answers properly and organize her thoughts.
We love an accommodating man.
Yes. Also, I'm pretty sure his hands like around her shoulder, or his arms around her shoulder, or something like that. At this point in time,
like he put it across the chair, the back of the chair. And honestly, if I had someone who would rephrase questions for me, because the way people phrase things is confusing a lot of the times, I would fold so fast.
So, she explains that her research is on biomarkers in order to more easily and cheaply diagnose pancreatic cancer. So Tom, starts rudely probing, for her reasons for doing her research. It's literally why pancreatic? Because, you can do any type of cancer, or all these stuff. So normally when people do this, they have a specific reason. And she's like, my mom. And he's all like, did she die? And she's like, yes. And she's choking up, about to cry. And he's all like, how old were you? He starts, probing her very rudely. And the only reason he stops is because Adam yells at him. This is it hard to supremacy. Any nice guy, I'm just like, Adam supremacy. Blank man supremacy. Tom asks Olive to spend 2 weeks writing up a report on the current current state of her research, and that he'll make a determination of whether to give her the lab space and cover her research expenses depending on what he reads in the report. This is a shit ton of work for 2 weeks, just so you know. So she's low-key panicking, but she's also excited that she has the chance. So after he steps away, they discuss that if she decides to go to Harvard, then she needs to keep it a secret until the end of the agreement. Otherwise, he'll make Adam look worse because, like, it happens to be that Harvard happens to be where the grant he just got is with Tom. So if she's also going to work with Tom, it's just going to look like he's going to move to Harvard, right?
Yeah.
And they agree not to tell Tom. She's all like, hey, you can tell your friends. Like, I told my best friend. Well, I told Malcolm. Right? Like, it's okay. You can tell that you're not dating, like, a student and all this stuff. And he's like, no. So, basically, there's this random talk that Tom is giving on campus. She goes, but the auditorium is packed. She's there with Anne. There's no space. So Anne forces all to sit in Adam's lap for the duration of the talk. She's getting real comfortable. Like, she almost falls asleep. There's, like, him lifting her up so that she's more comfortable, but also, like, she's not falling. Anyways.
It's everything to ever exist. I love it here.
Meanwhile, so they're walking back to the biology meeting afterwards, and Olive talks about the report she's preparing and the presentation she needs to work on for a conference coming up in Boston. And Anne's working on organizing an outreach event for BIPOC women in STEM for the conference, right? Makes sense. But on the way back, they realize there's a traffic jam. And then they see the department secretary talking to Adam, and Adam proceeds to physically push a cart out of the way to relieve the jam.
Which, what the fuck? Full stop.
I know, right? And, like, forces her to go and give him a kiss for his efforts. And they awkwardly talk for a bit. And then Adam, they kiss. I whoop.
Really? It was good kiss, apparently. Oh.
So she's working on her report for Tom when Greg and Chase, two other lab mates, barge in. So Greg's, like, very agitated. Chase is, like, trying to calm down, and she does the nice thing, asks what's wrong, and he responds that Carlson, Adams, on his dissertation committee, and he failed his proposal. And they ask if she knew. They ask if she knew, and she's like, no, of course I didn't know. And then Greg yells at her and calls her selfish for not caring, and blames her, and then storms off. And it's like, hello? Chase is
like, it has nothing to do with her.
Chase is like, he's just upset. And it's like, okay, yeah, but what does that, like, that makes no fucking sense. Get the fuck, like, actually, like, a white man yelling at a small woman because of something that has nothing to do with her. That's very red flaggy. Thank you very much. So she.
Don't forget she's tall. She's tiny. She's tall, but she's tiny. Don't forget that.
Yeah, she's like 5'8", but she's short. She's 5'8", but she's small. She later on texts Adam, because he gave her his cell phone number, and she's like, what if this is actually his landline, expects me to call him? Like, he's an old man, like, he's like 30. But there's, like, a lot of her joking about how he's an old man when he's, like, 30. She asked him about failing Greg,
I love that.
And there's, like, a whole arguing, about how she thinks that he should be nicer, but doesn't apologize, and says that his job is to make sure students produce useful research. She gets more frustrated, and texts profanity at him. I think she says, fuck you, Adam, and he doesn't respond.
Yeah, he is a little bit cruel, but at the end of the day, most people aren't going to sit down and just be honest with you like that. Yeah, he could work on the delivery a bit, but otherwise, I understand where he's coming from. Does that make sense?
So they're on the way to that science picnic, and it's the first time she'll be seeing Adam since, like, that tense text exchange. So she and Jeremy and Malcolm are going together and are very late. So Adam, when they get there, is playing ultimate frisbee with a bunch of other professors, including this one professor that Malcolm has had a thing for a long time. And Adam is shirtless. He has a six-pack. Also, Olive is basically there just to eat food, but there's no food left, so she's very upset. And she is surprised that she's, and I quote, viscerally attracted to Adam, because she's never really had
Valid.
physical attraction, towards people and whatnot. If I had to guess, she's demisexual, so,
Yeah.
if I had to guess, yeah. So there's like this whole thing where they're
Valid.
looking up, how important sunscreen is, and all this stuff, and Anna is like freaking out. So she gives
It's
Olive,
kind of
like
funny.
literally, Olive has already put sunscreen on, like literally 5 minutes ago, and then she fills Olive's hands with more sunscreen, like completely fills them up. And she's like, what
Okay,
the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Honestly, I hate Anne so much at times like this. So, the frisbee lands near them. Adam comes over to retrieve it, and Anne I'm changing how I pronounce her name every time, offers Olive's excess
like
sunscreen to Adam. He accepts, and Olive rubs sunscreen on him, and apologizes about the text messages.
Strong back and chest.
I know, right? As that's happening, Tom comes over. He's also shirtless, but she's
Don't
not
be
into
ugly
it.
in there. I'm sorry.
She's not into Tom shirtless. And he brings up that Adam will be going to Boston soon for a few days. So she's in the bake room at night at the lab, and runs into Adam. She's working on her report for Tom, and there's a section she's having trouble with, since the lab equipment seems to be messing up. She went to get salt and vinegar chips. Iconic, yes, they're delicious. From the vending machine.
I don't like salt and vinegar.
There's one bag left in the vending machine, and she had just enough quarters to get it. But when she goes to get them, as like a treat for getting as far as she did, they're not there anymore. And she's like, damn it. And then Adam's behind her, just sitting in the dark. Not even sitting in the dark, really. He's just in there, and she didn't notice him. And he's like, you can have them. She does grab some kind of chocolate bar. So they're sitting next to each other, sharing snacks. He doesn't like chocolate, though. Olive finds herself wondering why he's single. And she talks about...
Really, though? Why is he fucking single? I get it. I do.
So she talks about her mother's diagnosis and death when Olive was 15. Only had like a few weeks left to live. And her father was never in the picture, and her grandparents had died too, so she was sent into foster system until she was emancipated at 16. She says she needs to get back to work, and then they start, like, she complains about equipment and explains how things are going wrong and shows him pictures, and he's like, yeah, it looks like this is the issue. If you need, you can use my lab equipment. It works great. And offers her some advice, and stuff. I'm pretty sure someone comes in, I think it's Jeremy, as this is all happening, and interrupted them. She asks Adam why he's single, but before he can really answer, Jeremy walks in and interrupts them. Fuck you, Jeremy! On Saturday, she sends her report to Tom. You're supposed to say it again.
Fuck Tom Benton once again.
He responds by asking her to meet to talk about it at Adam's house, where he is staying, before he leaves for Boston. So she texts Adam, and she's like, is this okay? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I'll probably be out doing a run anyways at that time. And then he asks if she needs a ride, because she doesn't have a car, she has a bike. There's this whole thing where he's all like, there's no bike lanes, and she's like, yeah. So he's like, do you need a ride? Because, like, it's really not safe to bike where I live. And she's all like, no, I'll have a friend drop me off. I think it's Malcolm who drops her off.
Because he's so real.
Yep. And so they chat about her report for, like, 20 minutes, and then Adam arrives and takes a shower, and then comes back out, and offers to give her a ride back to her place. And as she's about to leave, Tom offers her a spot at Harvard for the next year. She's really excited. In the car, he talks about how excited he is for the research him and Tom are working on. He says something about similar to something that the guy in the bathroom said to her, and that's when she realizes, oh my god, Adam's the guy in the bathroom. Oh my god.
Can you tell your
And
artist to stop flickering my light?
Olive then suggests that they go celebrate her lab spot and the grant he has with Tom. And they agree to coffee, but then she convinces him to go with her to get flu shots. And he has a fear of needles, so it's like her cutely picking on him while dragging him there. It's like clear that he could stop this at any moment. He's like twice her size, right? But yeah, it's like this cute moment. They get shots, and they're like texting, teasing each other, about like he's all like my arm hurts, I'm dying, and she's like, oh poor baby. It's very cute.
I love them. I love them. Also, the fact he's scared of needles is honestly so him coded. Like why is he perfect?
I know, right? She also, when she gets him to go get the shot, she talks about how she also hated shots, and her mom would always get her an ice cream sandwich afterwards, and so they can go get ice cream sandwiches afterwards, and he's like, you're gonna eat mine though, right? And she's like, yeah. And he allows her and all this stuff, right? So Anne comes in when they're doing the teasing, texting each other, and comments on how in love with Adam she is, and how she feels better about dating Jeremy since she sees how much Olive likes Adam, and leaves, and Olive realizes, shit, you right, I love this bitch.
I don't think we're at love yet. So does.
I have feelings for this bitch. So she texts Malcolm, asking to talk, because he's like the only person other than Adam that knows about the fake dating. So they're sitting, it's a Wednesday, and they're sitting at the coffee shop, and she tells him she's telling about how she's fallen for Adam, and that he was the guy from the bathroom all those years ago, and Malcolm's like, hey, I think he feels the same way. You haven't seen the way that he looks at you. And she thinks that he's crazy, for like thinking that, but also she's scared of being vulnerable and possibly giving up the friendship she and Adam currently have if she's wrong, and also she has a fear of abandonment and people dying on her, right?
All of this is valid.
Yeah. So, she says she's certain she doesn't want to say anything to Adam about her feelings, and then as she turns around, guess who's there? Adam, because it's coffee day. You fucking dumbass. You're supposed to be a genius. You're a PhD student.
Yeah. Like, it's so, like, he's so stupid at times. I'm like, you're supposed to be big brain. Where's the big brain?
So, Adam acknowledges that he overheard her, and she quickly lies and says she was talking about some other guy she has a crush on. He assumes that she has a crush on Jeremy. Right?
Fucking dummy.
I think Malcolm leaves at this point. So their conversation is interrupted by Dr. Holden Rodriguez.
Holden!
Yep. Holden is the professor that Malcolm has a crush on, a very heavy crush on. And
he's real.
he is childhood best friends with Adam and is going to Boston with Tom and Adam. And they know each other because he was on Olive's graduate advisory committee her first year. So they talk. He explains how they were friends, grew up together because their parents were both diplomats, and never really around. Also there's this grade A story, so he's gay, right? And he tells the story where, like, I think 2 days before prom or something like that, his boyfriend dumped him. The only other out person at school dumped him, right? So Adam went to prom with him, and they held hands and danced, and, you know, everyone, like, his ex was like, oh my god, so shocked, and then they went and played video games together afterwards, and they had a good time, and it's this very cute story about how Adam, a cis straight white man, went to prom with another man, his best friend, who has a non-white sounding last name. Because he wanted to be there for his friend. And I love this man.
It's just a story about how Adam is the only man ever.
Yes. So Holden leaves. Adam comments that Holden speaks highly of her research. saying, and then Holden made a comment about Tom, and he explains that they don't really get along, and he says that she should just tell Jeremy how she feels, because he assumes that she has a crush on Jeremy, right? And she's like, I don't think so. Malcolm is trying to convince Olive to admit her feelings to Adam, but she refuses. Adam's out of time, so she feels his absence. And Adam finally texts her on Sunday, and she feels even worse about her stupid lie about liking someone else. She runs into Holden on campus, and he mentions how glad he is that Adam and Olive are together, and that Adam had talked about someone he wanted to ask out for years, and he's glad Adam finally did. Olive assumes that there must be someone else out there that Adam likes, since they only really met a couple weeks ago. It's not. He was talking about her the whole goddamn time.
And it pisses me off. This
Holden warns her to watch her back when it comes to Tom, and also Adam's back since he doesn't trust Tom. So Olive is informed that her research Olive's research has been accepted for the conference, as not a poster thing, but as an actual presentation with faculty and whatnot. And she's panicking. So she says this is super rare that graduate students get selected for oral presentations. So she goes to Dr. Aslan, her advisor. Dr. Aslan just gives her encouragement and tells her Olive she'll help her practice her presentation, but she can't be there that day. So you'll be fine. Just make sure to record it for me after that. I'll stop. No. She goes and claims to Malcolm and Anne, who also volunteer to help her practice. This is the part. I hate this part so much. So she's all like, okay, cool. When do you want me to send you the money for the hotel we're gonna stay in? Because I assume we're rooming, right? And that's when On drops, oh yeah, I'm actually staying with Jeremy because he gets a room with the something like that. He already has a room. I'm staying with Jeremy. And Malcolm says that he has some friends who had a spare room and he's staying with them, so she's on her own and they just didn't tell her. And Anne says, well, I figured you would stay with Adam. So she is freaking out. And she's physically freaking out. And Anne's just texting her on her phone, be like, oh, I thought you were going to stay with Adam. Okay, bye. And Malcolm is like, I'm so sorry. I was going to warn you and I was going to tell you because he knew about the fake dating thing. But then it just he forgot. And I, as a person, literally went, I would have dropped these bitches so fast. I wouldn't have because I'm a person who I am. But it made my blood was boiling. I was screaming. I hate this. I hate this so much. Right? So she's trying to figure out where to stay in Boston because it's too soon to the conference, right? So all the hotels rooms are already booked, and any nearby hotel room that isn't booked is hella expensive. And so she's gonna have to stay at places that are $300 and 40 miles away. But Adam comes up behind her, or comes up to her. I think they're both at the coffee shop when she's researching this stuff. And she talks about it, and he says that there's probably nothing left, but she can just stay at his room at the conference center. And he says that they gave him a room for the whole conference, but he will only be using the room for 2 nights, so they'll only overlap for 1 night. She talks about her presentation.
That was an interesting one night, I'll tell you that.
She talks about her presentation. He offers to look over her slides, and help her out. And hear me out. He's the only one when his help is offered and whatnot. He's the only one whose help actually helps.
Because he knows how to help her, and it's not that hard to realize how someone needs help.
I'd like you to know, when they are bantering about his help, she wanted to make the slides puke green because it would make them more pop more. And he made her change it, and it's just so cute. She invites him to her talk, and thinks about how one of the reasons she likes him is that she always feels like he's on her side. Right. So
Pause for a second.
okay.
Like, the way, like, him knowing how to help her and stuff, it's not that hard to be there for someone. Even if you don't instinctively know, just ask, what's the best way for me to help you in situations? Or to understand you. Like, for me, I'm going to try to tell you about myself through the books I'm reading or the music I'm listening to. And then when you don't take that seriously, even though I'm telling you right into your face, I've been thinking a lot about this. I have thoughts and opinions about this. Because everyone has a certain way they're going to try to tell you shit without actually telling you shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easy to pick up on, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing, though.
So, it's Boston time. Are you prepared for Boston time? I know, fuck Tom.
Also, I don't know.
Okay.
I had a thought, then I lost it.
Okay. Olive takes the empty bed and she's rehearsing her talk as she gets prepared.
We forgot the whole talk about how she's like, oh my god, there's gonna be one bed, and he's like, what do you mean?
Oh yeah, she's all like, there's gonna be one bed. He's like, no, there's not. It's a room with two beds, and she's like, it's gonna be one bed. And he's like, I can show you the room stuff. It says two beds. She's like, there's only gonna be one bed. That's what happens. It's a romance thing. And he's like, alright, well, it says two beds, and there's two beds. But they still end up in one bed. Cough, cough.
Listen.
Yep. So she's rehearsing as she's getting ready. The only nice dress she has for it, it's a little small on her, smaller than it used to be. But it's a black dress. Adam arrives, and, he's instantly just like, oh.
That fucking noise. Yeah, I guess that was so real. Oh, you know what you
repeat that if I try.
Have you ever watched that one show with Tim Allen? You know the show I'm talking about where he makes that noise in the fucking theme song intro thing at the end? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my god. I think it's the show where he's the handyman. You've never seen the show where Tim Allen talks over the fence to his neighbor, but it's only his eyes, but I'm pretty sure the neighbor is actually him too.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about now. Yeah, as soon as you said handyman, I instantly knew what you're talking about. You had said handyman 3 times, but the third time I clicked in my brain.
We're so normal.
Wait, Alan Handyman. This should, it's a popular show. I don't want an actual handyman named Alan. Home Improvement. There we go.
What was my first thought? Tim the handyman. That's
not. So yeah, he's that sound effect for her. And she thanks him for all the help. He gave her the presentation. He asked for the time and location so he can attend, but it turns out she's all very excited because it overlaps partially with the keynote speech, which means most people won't be able to make it to hers, so there'll be less people at hers. And she is giving her presentation to 2 other people. And turns out, hey, guess what? He's the keynote speaker, and she's like, I'm sorry. She's like, excuse me, you never brought that up. And he's like, yeah, I'm the keynote speaker. And she's like freaking out because that's a big deal. And he didn't bring it up. And he's like, yeah, that's why I have the room. And so, because she already has to record it for Aslan, she offers to send him the recording as well. Oh my god, the fucking recording.
Every time I think about that reminds me of the one time I accidentally screen recorded my laptop for 7.5 hours.
That's so funny. We're at the part, Bessie, basically. She does the presentation. Tom is one of the people who are on the same panel. Her part goes well. Malcolm and Anne are there to cheer her on.
Wait, pause! You forgot a very key moment in the hotel room. He was like, have you eaten today? And she's like, no. And then he pulled out a chocolate protein bar when he does not like chocolate. implies he knew that she probably hadn't eaten, so he brought it specifically for her. Ah!
I love how their love language is food. Him just feeding her.
Really is. I think
So
it's because he likes taking care of her, and that's the way he'll really let him.
The room is empties out, and it's just her and Tom. She's like gathering all her things, right? And they're talking. She's like, "Oh yeah, thank you for inviting me for next year. I'm so excited." And he's like, "Yes, yes." And she notices him moving closer until he tries to kiss her.
Mm-hmm.
She pushes him away, and he still tried.
And you know what I think? I have multiple thoughts. You want to hear them?
Fuck Tom. Is that weird?
One is, fuck Tom Benton, 2 middle fingers in the fucking air. The second is, get your stank ass breath out my girl Olive's face. Cause what the fuck?
I know, right?
What the fuck?
Yeah, so basically, it's this whole scene where he says that she's clearly someone who sleeps around to get ahead. That's why she's dating Adam and all this stuff. And that's the only reason why she ended up being someone, like, having a power presentation is because of her dating Adam, and she knew this. And so they both know that she'll sleep with him, for the same reason. And
something so drastic, challenge.
I know, right? And he says that Adam's the whole reason he accepted her because, he, like, something will be, he'll finally have something on Adam or something like that, right? And all this stuff, and she's not good enough, and her science isn't good enough. And she tries to tell Adam, and he says, who do you think he'll believe? And then Olive says she will work in his lab now. Like, she was like, you really think I'm gonna work in your lab now? And he's like, I'm the best option, and if you don't, then I'll just replicate your research. I mean, you sent me all of it already. So, like, it'll be easy to replicate. So illegal. So she runs to the room crying, right?
I would hope so.
She's crying. Adam gets there, and she's, like, she's immediately, like, oh, nothing's wrong, how was your speech, blah, 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 and he is, like, freaking out, like, down on his knees in front of her, like, oh my god, what happened, oh my god, freaking out, are you hurt, looking, I think she has, like, some bruises on her arms from Tom, I'm not sure, she lies and tells him that, she's upset because she heard someone saying that her research was, derivative and that she was only chosen because of her dating Adam, and he says that, he's basically like, that's dumb, I saw all your research, I saw your whole entire presentation because I helped you with it, you're a great scientist, and they're just idiots, and he has a great idea for where they should go instead, so there's, like, this whole thing where Ann and Malcolm call her up and they're like, hey, come down to the party, drink some alcohol with us, but she doesn't want to go because she's, like, crying,
Valid.
So, he holds her hand and takes her out. He's all like, hey, are your shoes good for walking? And she's like, yeah, because she's wearing heels. So everyone's at the department social, they walk past them.
Thought about her shoes. It's the small things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So they go past the department social that he's supposed to be at as the, keynote speaker, right? And he's like, I'm taking you out to dinner, because it'll make you feel better. And so they're just walking around, and she sees an all-you-can-eat sushi place. He's all like, no, and she's like, yes, and he's like, no, I'll take you to get real sushi. He's like, yes. It's very cute. There's, like,
burger. Oh my god, burgers taste like foot.
Yes, burgers taste like foot. And there's, like, a conveyor belt of sushi. It's, like, this whole thing. They head back to the room afterwards. Her heels are hurting her, so he just picks her up and carries her there.
Bridal style.
She's all like, ah! It's not like she can say she's too heavy for him, because he literally pushed a car.
And she's 2 apple tall, apparently. God.
I know, right? So she just suggests they, watch a movie. She says he can pick while she takes a quick shower.
As long as no horses die.
Yeah, as long as one of the horses, who die. And she, like, is about to gather herself to go take a shower, but then she realized she forgot to pack pajamas, so Adam gives her a spare shirt he has. And
Isn't
she's
he
like,
wearing the shirt and he takes it off?
yes, and she's like, what will you wear? And he's like, nothing. And she's like, and he's like, I'm kidding, I'll wear pants. Right? It's fine, I just won't wear a shirt to bed, right? So...
He has, oh yeah, I sleep naked and lounge around my house naked vibe, so when anyone ever breaks in, they'll run right back out the door.
So, when she comes back from the shower, he is trying to find a movie. He's like, wow, I can't believe none of these things, like, you can't find online if horses die in this movie or this movie and all this stuff. Trying to specifically find a movie that doesn't have horses dying, just for her.
Honestly, I think that was a little funny and endearing.
And her mind's wandering to Tom, the things that Tom called her and said and whatnot. And so Adam, to make her feel better, tells her about his advisor, who once told him he wouldn't amount to anything because of a simple mistake he made. And that's...
Well, that's
and
not really
because of that, he started prepping applications for law school as a result. And Holden and Tom, who were under the same advisor, convinced him to stick with science. And he realized later that his advisor was abusive and a bad mentor who created a toxic environment. And he says he's critical since he wants students to be better, but isn't about belittling them as people or cutting down their self-worth. He only talks about the science. He doesn't talk about them as people, right?
Which is why I think he's valid.
And Adam, she asked why no one reported her as advisor, and he said, because he was shortlisted for a Nobel Prize, and no one would listen, and, that Tom had helped mediate things with him and his advisor, so he's grateful for Tom for that. And then he says that, the abstracts submitted for the presentations and whatnot go through a blind review process, so there's no way they would have chosen her because of him. Like, there's no way. They wouldn't have known who they were choosing. Right? Yep. They chose her for her science.
Because she's smart.
Sorry, I just... she feels bad about, like, this revelation that she, called him, like, crass and, like, rude to his students and all this stuff, right?
And, like, his advisor or something like that. She didn't know the whole...
So, all moves to kiss Adam. He stops her. He points out that she's upset and staying in his room, and that this feels coercive on his part towards her. She says she's fine. He points out that she said she was in love with someone else, and that he doesn't want her to regret this. Later, Olive convinces him that she's fine with the situation. And then I would like you to know, it says, this document says, and I quote, Chapter 16, they have sex. Chapter 17.
Oh my god, we have to bring up some details here.
I'm gonna go into more detail than that. So, things hot and heavy, they're making out, whatnot. And then, he tells her to wait, and she's, like, worried that he's not into her, like, that she's, like, pushing him. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And so he's like, oh, you think I'm not into you? And then takes her hand and puts it on his boner.
Listen, that's what it's so... I gotta go somewhere. Every once in a while I think about that, I'm, like, gripping the fucking walls.
Things get hot and heavier. There's, like, this whole thing where, she has an issue with intimacy and getting there, and so she's all like, hey, like, I've done this a few times. I think that's why he stops, because she's only had sex a few times, and she,
because she's like, but not really.
Yeah, and he's, like, worried about, like, going too far and everything, right? And so he's all, like, she talks about how, like, he should just, like, go for it, and she'll be fine, because it'll take too long for her to get there. And so then he takes his sweet time going down on her. He's like, oh no, I'll be here all night if I have to. I do not give a fuck.
He's so real.
And we love a man.
Adam Carlson, the only man ever.
Yes. They do go all the way.
That's what you should name this episode.
They do go all the way. He straight up puts her whole entire boob in his mouth.
Everyone's like, oh my god, he put her whole tit in his mouth. And I'm like, oh my god. When I read that for the second time, I was like, ugh. And don't forget it's too big.
Yep, there's that, and then also there's like a whole thing where like he doesn't have condoms on him and whatnot, and so she lets him raw dog it. She's like, I'm on birth control, it's fine, and he's like madly into her at this moment in time. I would like everyone to know this.
No, he's so into her. It's attractive.
Yep. So afterwards, she's like sleeps for like half an hour. He watches her sleep. And she asks about the book that he's reading. He says that's in Dutch that he learned as a kid. And that his parents were busy all the time, and that he was mostly raised by nannies and whatnot. And they talk more about their childhoods. He says that he may be going to Harvard. And the reason why he's leaving the conference early is to go to an interview with Harvard people. And he thinks working together with Tom in the same lab would make them much more productive. And that he could show her around Boston when she's there. And she's definitely uncomfortable because she's not going to Boston, but she won't tell him that yet because she's like, we have one night. And so then I'm pretty sure, does he finger her or does he go down on her again? I don't remember. And
they do something.
He wants to go round 2, and she's like, I want to, but I'm too sore, right? And so then she gives him a blowy. I'm pretty sure he thinks she's a god at this point. She's like, this is my first time doing this, so like, if I'm doing something wrong, let me know. And then he's just like, you know?
And no, he gives her directions and shit too, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yep. So when she was,
what is so horrible about this man?
So when she
I hate this podcast because every once in a while we read straight books. I'm like, oh my god, this man, but like he's fictional, so it's okay.
It's okay.
It ain't never good. No, every time I say I'd try it for like 5 years, something, no, it's a joke.
So when she wakes up in the morning, Adam's already left, right? And she wakes up to a bunch of texts from Anne and Malcolm. She like tries to get through the day. She's like kind of very depressed about everything, right? But she's like, okay, I gotta like get up, take a shower, all this stuff. And then Anne and Malcolm are at the door. She lets them in. And turns out Malcolm hooked up with Holden at the department social, and that he mentioned that Adam's funds had been released, and Adam hadn't even mentioned it to Olive. She's like, "That's good." Yeah. So I think this is part where. Yeah, this is the part. It doesn't say it on this, but so they're talking about Malcolm's hookup, and she's like, oh, I gotta send this recording to Aslan and also Adam. Both times, even the second time, like I knew how I knew how Adam figures out how the sexual harassment stuff that Tom did. But, like, every time, I think she just automatically just sends the whole recording. But no, she goes to edit the recording, right? Because she realizes that it was, like, recording for, like, 7 hours or something, right? So she goes to edit it. And she accidentally pulls out her headphones. And so full blare, full volume, Tom saying that shit. Right? And so they're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's clearly.
And she tries to say everything's fine, but then she breaks down. And she has Anne and Malcolm listen to it on her computer with headphones as she, like, hides in the bathroom, and then Anne comes in, and she's like, you have to, like, report him. Oh my fucking god, this is sexual harassment. And they get her to realize... Yeah, they get her to realize, yeah, that's what it is, right? But she still won't report him because, she doesn't want Adam to know. Not because she's worried about what Adam will believe and blah, 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 but because, he's, like, Adam's friend and work partner, and she doesn't want him to lose that. That's why. So instead, she meets up with Adam as planned. He wants to go out and have dinner, but she breaks things off. And
which makes me want to do something so drastic.
Yeah. So she's like, I think she's. So she says, she's like in a room with him, and she's like, there's this whole thing. They break up, right? And she says, that things have been nice, thank you. She starts to leave, and then they end up kissing again. Like, puts his hand on her wrist, and then they end up kissing. And
No, that whole scene makes me want to bash my head
I
against
think
the
they
wall
kiss
because,
against the
oh
wall or
my
something, but then she's like, I have to go. We can't do this. And, kisses his cheek and then leaves, and she says, like, thank you, and I'm okay. Okay, so she's, like, depressed and crying again.
I'm
And
also depressed and crying again.
she is determined not to go to Harvard, right, for obvious reasons. And so Adam gave her advice when she was talking about how Tom was the only one to reply to her emails about this stuff. That, hey, if you have your advisor, if you, like, message them through the advisor, then the chances are, I'm so confused what just happened on my computer. Anyways, chances are, they will have a higher chance of, like, actually replying, right? So she emails Aslan and is like, hey, email, these people for me about this, cough cough, including, people at her presentation who seemed interested in her research. Aslan agrees and also asks for, like, the recording, right?
You know, using her brain.
I think this is the part where she's editing it and Malcolm and overhear it. Right.
Either way, that happens.
That happens. Oh, also, when Malcolm and Holden went on their first date at this point, and during that they had run into Malcolm's entire family.
No, that's so fucked up. I thought it's so funny too because, like, oh my god.
And
Imagine you going on a first date and all of a sudden your whole entire fucking family's there. Be like, hey!
I know, right? Anyways, they really liked Holden, and Holden got them to, understand the benefits of Malcolm going into, the pharmaceutical route or something like that. The more money-driven route, right? Instead of the academic route. Overhear the recording, so Malcolm fills Anne in on what was really going on with the fake dating, and everyone agrees that Olive clearly has feelings for Adam, and that Adam should know about this, and whatnot. And
It's so obvious. They're just stupid.
right, yeah, right. Anne does apologize for, like, pushing Olive onto Adam for, like, the past month in these very awkward PDA situations that they were not into. Like, you don't know, maybe they're just not a couple who likes PDA. Like, have you thought about that? Like, shut the fuck up, Anne. I'm pronouncing your name different every single time.
Yeah,
oh my
no,
god,
they
I
don't
literally sat on the counter yesterday.
Like they'll definitely like hold hands, they'll touch her back, something like that, but they're not gonna fucking make out in public.
So, they realize, or Malcolm realizes that Holden is, a good person they could ask for advice. Since he knows Adam really well, but he also has issues with Tom, and so, like, he may have some tea there, right? So she goes up to him, and, they asks what he thinks about Adam moving to Boston to work with Tom, and he says that he doesn't trust Tom, that, there was a weird dynamic where Tom was, secretly sabotaging Adam during grad school, and then defending him, and he believes that Tom is obsessed with Adam's loyalty towards him and having influence over him, and that, he is 100% sure that, the collaboration between the two benefits Tom way more than Adam, and heavily implies that Adam is only considering leaving Stanford is because Olive is going to Harvard. That's the only reason he's planning to leave. And then, so, Adam, it has the dinner with the Harvard people, right? She tracks him down. Guess who's also there? Tom. So when Adam sees her, she, like, plans to, like, wave to him and be like, hey, can I talk to you once you're done? He sees her, immediately gets up and asks what's going on.
She's real.
So Tom comes over and he's all like, hey, bro, come sit down. This is very rude to the people we are talking about. And Adam's like, no, I need to talk to Olive. And they're like, fighting. Tom's all like, yeah, but we gotta do this. And Adam's like very nervous that she's gonna tell Adam, trying to get Adam to sit down so that, like, she loses the nerve. But guess what? She has the recording, so she plays it out loud. And Adam instantly recognizes
Bad bitch move, bro.
And then he says, "I'm gonna kill you," and literally strangles him up against a wall. As Tom tries to grab the phone away from Olive, like Tom's trying to get the phone away from her multiple times, but like at this point he's literally trying to grab onto her and whatnot. And Adam just straight up bodies this bitch. And no way, I was like, I love this man.
Real.
All the Harvard people are like freaking out. And he won't. He's like ignoring all of them. The only person he won't ignore is Olive, who tells him that Tom's not worth it. And he's like, okay. And then he just basically holds her in his arms. And the Harvard people are demanding explanations and whatnot, and he's just ignoring them and kissing her on the top of the head, and tells her, she's like, hey, you have to, like, handle this. People are freaking out. Like, please. And so he's all like, okay, send me the recording immediately, and I will handle everything. You don't worry. I will talk to you. Go home. Everything will be fine. So she's back home. Her flight is earlier than Adam's, right? So she's home. Whatnot. She hasn't heard anything from Adam, right? And in the meantime, while waiting, she has received responses from 4 cancer researchers who are interested in her research. So she has like options. So Adam and Holden get back. Holden insists on a double date with Malcolm. Adam reluctantly agrees and says they can't have burgers. Like, they're trying to figure out where to go, and Adam's like, we can't get burgers. And they're like, what? And he's like, because they taste like feet. You know, the thing she said.
Like, why was that her first instinct?
I don't know.
That they taste like feet. Why does she know what feet taste like in the first place?
So basically, they decide they're going to talk about the Tom stuff later. So they all sit down to dinner. And Holden immediately is like, okay, we gotta talk about how my best friend and my boyfriend, don't like each other, hate each other. And Adam's very confused. And it's because Malcolm explains, it's because of Adam's harsh criticism of his work. And Adam claims it wasn't personal. And then, there's like, something, Adam points out some pumpkin spiced food thing, because he knows that she loves it, even though he finds it disgusting. And then she's like, oh, you can't bring that up because Malcolm hates pumpkin spice things. And Malcolm's like, no, pumpkin spice things is the worst thing ever. And her and Holden are team pumpkin spice, and they're against it. And it's like this cute thing where they're like teaming up and against each other. But in like a cute way. And they're getting along. So at the double date, Holden mentions how Adam has liked Olive for years, and Olive is like, hey, we've only been dating for like a few weeks. And also like, was fake dating, right? And Holden brings up the fact that they met 3 years ago, and he's liked her ever since, you know, in the bathroom incident. And Olive realizes, he remembered. She didn't think he remembered, that's why he didn't bring it up. Right? So Holden and Malcolm go home, and Adam offers to walk her home or something like that, right? I think he's also carrying her bags or something at the same time. And so they're walking, and it's like a whole thing to have a conversation about the Tom stuff. And he's like freaking out because she was told about that he remembered her for the past 3 years, but like she didn't remember and all this stuff. And she's like, no, I did remember. I just was like, I realized. I just assumed you didn't remember. And this whole thing, and he feels bad. And she's like, no, it's okay. And it's some kissy stuff. Harvard is going to fire Tom, and that there will be other disciplinary actions. And then, there was, okay, so when they had the night of passion in the hotel room, right? Because he was, like, reading in Dutch. She says that she only knows, like, one thing in Dutch, and it's I love you, because her freshman roommate had this poster that had I love you in every language, and, so, like, she knows how to say I love you in, like, almost every language and all this stuff, right? And so, she says, they're, like, stopped in the, like, middle of the sidewalk, and they're talking, and she says, I love you in Dutch. And it's cute, and fuck you. And then it's epilogue, 10 months later, and it's 1 year anniversary of their first kiss, and Olive and Adam go to the lab, and she's forcing him to recreate their first kiss, at like the exact same time. Like she has it all down to a science, and he's all like, "Damn, I love you," and all this stuff. And they have plans. I think something the new place she's going for the work for a year is in a different part of California, but still California. So like it will be more feasible for them to still be together while it's where they are and all this stuff, blah blah blah. Long distance is gonna be annoying, but they're excited and everything is good happily ever after. Oh my god, that took so long for me to say. Do you have anything else to add about the plot?
Adam Carlson, the only man ever. Fuck Tom Benton.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Fit boob in mouth.
It's too big. Woo.
I'm trying to figure out what my 4 phrases / words for, the threads thing, from the books I've read for this book was sunscreen, lap sitting, truck pushing. Somehow he fits a full boob in his mouth.
Yeah, that's the book.
That's the book.
That's the whole book.
That's the whole book.
The whole thing.
That's the whole thing. A good book. I like
book.
you a lot. Other Ali Hazelwoods. I do want to at some point do Love Theoretically and Love on the Brain. I do own both those as well.
I've not read any other ones.
I have read the Demonist novellas.
Yeah, I remember you reading those. I remember. Oh yeah, that's the word.
I did do a whole vlog on those. Yeah, the first one I really liked. The other two were fine. Like to the point where I almost rated the first one 5 stars. And I have those two, and I haven't read Checkmate yet. And she's coming out with a new book like very soon called Bride, which looks very not like her normal type of books.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited. I want to look up what that book is about. Apparently there's like other books called Bride, so I have to like start typing in her name. Yeah, it comes out today, as of we're recording this. That is hilarious. Yeah, it's like a fantasy romance. A dangerous alliance between a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf becomes a love deep enough to sink your teeth into in this new paranormal romance.
Yeah, you sent me the cover. I was like, that does not seem like
I know, right?
Hazelwood.
Misery Lark, the only daughter of the most powerful vampire councilman of the Southwest, is an outcast. Again, her days of living in anonymity among the humans are over. She has been called upon to uphold a historic peacekeeping alliance between the vampires and their mortal enemies, the wearers. And she's sees little choice but to surrender herself in exchange again. Wearers are ruthless and unpredictable, and their alpha, Low Moreland, is no exception. He rules his pack with absolute authority, but not without justice. And unlike the vampire council, not without feeling. It's clear from the way he tracks Misery's every movement that he doesn't trust her. If only he knew how right he was. Because Misery has her own reasons to agree to this marriage of convenience. Reasons that have nothing to do with politics or alliances and everything to do with the only thing she's ever cared about. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to take back what's hers, even if it means a life alone in Were territory. Alone with the wolf. So, I assume it's enemies to lovers, forced marriage, fantasy. And I'm into it. Hey, you want to read it with me?
I would like you to. I did not absorb any word you said out of that.
Forced marriage. Enemies to lovers.
I gathered that. I gathered that.
Would you like to read? Me.
Maybe.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say for this episode?
No.